I've been working on this tool on and off, I'd say, since early February, and I do have proof of this because the screenshot is from the 4th of February. I forgot to include the date, but that's when I started working on it. And right from the beginning, I was going to have it written with support for BD2 and BD3, with Wii support being added much later, even though it was the simplest to implement, funnily enough. So here, for example, you can toggle it, and it does change the tooltip, the text right there. And it's worth noting that, yeah, the mode actually changes based on the game that's selected. Let's start with BD3 first, since BD3 is the most well researched out of the two games. Yeah, this doesn't include BD1, obviously. So for this, we need to go to, I already went there, but this is more specifically, if I were to do it from here, this is PZS3US1. And then I just, searched for Ultimate Battle US, because that's the file we need. So we can just save it here. To be more, I guess, consistent, I can just make a folder called Ultimate Battle, because we'll actually need more files. So, like these ones, for example, because they have Ultimate in the name. Now, granted, my tool doesn't validate files based on their names, rather it goes for specific file sizes, and if they're in the same folder, obviously. So no matter the game mode that's chosen, it will always look for two files, because one file contains the battle parameters and the other contains the enemy parameters. Yeah, the tool will better visualize my point, but beforehand we need to get these files out of the tool. So there are two ways of doing this. We need, of course, either Sparking Studio or Spikesoft, both of which are made by the same developer, so it's fine. But it is worth noting that for Tenkaichi 2, Spikesoft doesn't really have support for it, so I would recommend, just for now at least, I would recommend Sparking Studio, but I can still demonstrate Spikesoft. The only caveat is that it doesn't use CPAC, it uses ZPAC. That would be the most notable of changes. So here, for instance, you can rename it and drag and drop it. It works, and I can just do the same for the rest of these. Granted, I didn't add the same drag and drop support, though I do know how, for my tool, because it really didn't feel necessary. Especially since it's as simple as just opening the folder. So since we're on SimDragon, I can just open folder, copy this path. I already have it here because I was testing the tool earlier. Funnily enough, I updated it not even 14 minutes ago. I can refresh. Should be a different time now. Well, never mind, but it's a recent update. So of course, if you just enter this, it will pop up an error, but if I select the actual folder, like so, and then edit, it will bring up this new dialog. So here, I can just go through all the missions, and yeah, I added BD3 sound effects, so that, it can feel more authentic to the Tenkaichi experience. I know, sounds a little pretentious, but it's just to get the theme going. So here, I can check all these combo boxes, and yeah, in the code, there is an option that's unused to set the referee to random. It's not used anywhere, but I did want to include it. Nothing in particular here except random and of course random for both maps and background music. It is worth mentioning that for Sim Dragon, random maps will crash the game because they're never used anywhere. I'm not sure if this is also the case with music, because it most likely won't really play anything even if it does try to. But the real gist is that the random options here just get a random number from a list. It does not generate this within the code or anything, so it literally needs another file to get to that. So let's just, for now, let's edit just the first mission. So I'm gonna set the referee to random, the map to random, even though I did not recommend it, and we can set the BGM to random. I can also check this right here. I can change the time to infinite. So I'm basically changing every single option, including the character, because it uses its own window here. So I can change the costume to the first costume. I can change the items, very slight changes. I can change the difficulty as well. So I raised it a bit. And now we have two options. I can either directly save the changes, like so, or I can save as. Now, what will save as do? It will essentially, based on the game mode that's selected and the folder provided, it will save both the battle parameters and the enemy parameters in the same folder. Granted, the file names will be different, but it will give us a good idea, because if we go here, for example, the parameters are, of course, battle info and opponent info. So if I open both of these in my favorite editor, ONO editor, here they are. You know, nothing really comprehensible to the naked eye, but the moment that I save these changes, so let me, again, just for demonstration, let's just call this Ultimate Sim New. So we go here and place the sound effect, because I prefer that much better than having a message saying file saved successfully repeatedly, because it still requires my input to click OK. So if I go here and just do a very basic comparison, you can see all of these bytes are different. Yep. To my very own surprise, they are actually different. So knowing that, I can do the same here. So if I compare the opponent info, that's also been changed. Again, to visualize better, I can use this feature right here. So there we go. It will highlight the bytes in red, the bytes that it has changed. But again, I want to stress this out. I do not recommend the random options for maps and background music in Sim Dragon, because those are much more fit. Well, I do need to unpack it again, but they are much more fit for survival. That is the thing. And ranking battle, if I recall correctly, but it's mainly survival and Sim Dragon. Well, for characters, yes, because both game modes also have an option to choose a random character, and just like before, it will get a random number from a list. So let's drag and drop, well, not this one, this one. Drag and drop that, and here we have the parameters that the tool will look out for, as well as these two. But let's just proceed with, let me just close this, because the changes have been applied, so there's nothing to worry about. So if I go here, yep, everything is the same as we left it. Even if I close it, open it back up, yep, it's right there. Yes, because the tool actually remembers the last folder you visited. So for example, if I go to circuit battle, despite the folder not being the right one, well, I did get another error, unrelated, and it's gone in the way of things. My mistake there. Let's just try this again. because I didn't expect this error myself. So let's just repeat the same process. Again, where it will just complain at me. But if I just change the game mode and then select the right folder, there we go. So we have the Mission 100 editor. Of course, I added vertical and horizontal scroll bars. And we can just go through just about all these missions. It is worth noting that when choosing survival instead, it will still work, but we don't have the condition and destruction point parameters. Yep, those are not there. And yeah, as said before, here we have the random character slot, so it should work. Absolutely no issue. Well, thing is, where do I even go about editing the list? So how do I change what characters are random, right? The answer is right here. So if I click edit, here we have another window, and I could have included character images here, but it still felt relatively fine to just have it this way. As in, you just have the combo boxes and the character names, nothing major. Again, here I wouldn't recommend, for the same reasons as last time, of using random and empty. Because if you want to remove characters from this list, it would be much better to just set it to, say, early Goku again, because of how padding works. So at the end of the file, they're just zeros, and Goku's ID is also 0. So that's how the game is able to tell. So if you just, say, make Spopovich into early Goku, and then future Gohan as well, they won't show up in the random list, quite simply. So let me demonstrate this. Let me just change both of these to early Goku, save, then close, then edit again. We go back down, they're no longer there. So that's more or less my point. Moving on, we have ranking battle and circuit battle. Now, of course, ranking battle comes with these lists that I mentioned previously. So let's proceed with ranking battle first. Let's do this. Ranking battle, edit, then from here we can see that it doesn't say the mission name, it just says opponent number, and we only have one character. It should be obvious. Again, there's a bunch of these to go through. Let's just settle with Mecha Frieza, why not? So again, I can still demonstrate the same changes as before. Regardless of the game mode, the principle is the same. We still have the character, the costume, the difficulty, and the items. So nothing crazy there. Although for items, there was a random Z item option, which I discouraged the inclusion of it because there is an item used specifically for story mode called Absolutely Invincible Body. Alongside Go to Hell, these two items are just not worth equipping. This isn't necessarily a matter of opinion, but it's more so because when getting a random item, the game does not make any valid checks on whether the item is, say, unlocked, but only from this ID. Meaning, if I specify random in the file, whereas if I play Sim Dragon and normally get an item, the game does perform valid checks on the code. It's just that for this ID, it will not, so it will literally pull up any item, including these blank ones right here, which are unused. So it's absolutely discouraged, yes. So let me just, change it to King Cold, even though he's already in there, just as an example. Change the costume, apply, and here I can just go for, say, Videl again, Val train version. And as we can see, the maps and background music are random no matter what. This isn't an error from my tool, so if I change, say, Mountain Road, apply, yeah, it is actually there. So the developers purposely set out all these to have the same parameter, except for the very first fight, which is actually the last, since you start out from 100, but still. So if I go to BGM list, again, same premise, not much else to it. If I change evolution to meteor, save, and then come back, I just took it out of the list, pretty much. Same, I think, can be said for the map list. And this time I did include images, yeah. Again, I could have done this for the characters, but I'm sure we got tired of looking at character images for just about every game mode. So I felt like having a simpler UI wouldn't hurt. But here, I mean, if I change, of course, it does actually update the image, and the changes will be carried over, no problem. Now, for the challengers, there's a total of 37, and I mean, this time we do have different maps and music. Again, same referee, and we don't have these options checked, but they're still there for you to mess with. Now for the last one, again, for BD3, we have Circuit Battle. So let's select Circuit Battle, edit, and if I stretch this out, you see we have a maximum of 8 characters rather than 5. And we don't have, just like in Survival and SimDrac, we don't have conditions and destruction points. We just have the characters to fight against. So the maps are different, the music's different. We only have these 5 missions. Yeah, just these 5 missions. And they did actually use a red Patara here. Not a fan, but hey, it's up there for people to just make empty and then save. So let's proceed with BD2 this time. Let's make it easier for ourselves here, because I did forget to have it opened in the background, so we're gonna have to do it this way. Alright, so we can search right here, Ultimate Battle. There we go. So I have it set to Neo, but even if I set it to Meteor, it will not detect the file properly because BD2 is not really researched. So it will just have unknown folders. Let me show you. So yeah, I will give you a disclaimer, and here I want to clarify my tool specifically goes after 0, 4, and 6. Those are the compressed packs that it goes after. So I want to make sure to unpack those as well, because if I just leave it at that, I will get an error. I mean, I made a mistake anyway in the path, it's okay. Let me just get to the right path regardless. I mean, it's better to try 4 because according to some research that Deal has sent me a while ago, I was supposed to edit the parameters in the 4 folder. I went with 0, which was still valid, but it wouldn't actually edit the character IDs for the opponents. It would only edit their portraits. So the changes would only be visual, and I had to go back and sort of update the tool just so that it would support this. So the options are course and challenge. Since it's the same file, the tool will let you know so that if I just choose challenge, it will not work. But if I just go back to course, There we go. And here it says 20 characters. Now, realistically, the amount is 8, but Course Battle in BD2 has tag missions, meaning that we have, right here, we have 10 characters, but based on the file format, I had to set the amount to 20. Because the game, in theory, could have 16 characters or 18 characters in one mission, but it went specifically for 10. So Mr. Seinen and Majin Buu here, you find both of them in the same mission. That's why they stored them separately here. I mean, I could include the Z items here, but I'm not even sure if they are actual items or not, so those parameters are unknown at the moment. I could add support for them in the future, because I felt like it was better to worry about these parameters on the right, which I don't even know if they're battle parameters, but I assume they would be some kind of parameter anyway. Just to encourage research, more or less. So let me just change here, and it does pull up a different list. Obviously, the images are different from BD3's, so it's not just, you know, bullshitting here. I can save, I can come back. There we go. Same as ever. And then, if I want to go to challenge this time, the folder I need to go to is 6. Well, or 0. It was 0. Yeah. But yeah, it throws up an error, as it should. I'm not sure why it's not either of these. I mean, it's gotta be this one. I promise you it's gotta be this one. There we go. That's more like it. So here, we only get the challengers. And a different set of parameters, which, just so we're sure, because these are actual numbers here, this set of parameters should be the same as one of the parameters used for Course Battle. I just did it to have something included. That's about it, really. So as you can see, not every mission has a challenger. I want to clarify that, unfortunately, this cannot be changed because of how they stored character parameters. So the tool really will only be able to change the portraits, but not the actual characters of a challenge. Like, once their portraits are there, we can't have the characters themselves be there, which is a bit of a shame. But here, at least, I did include parameters, like I said. So for the actual file, I wasn't sure. For the actual file with the characters themselves, I wasn't entirely certain if it contained items or just about anything, because not every parameter is worth researching. So here, let me just change it to Super Buu. Save it. Go back. It's there. I mean, here, you know, I can just change Oop to Maju, and we can notice the parameters are, or at least should be, different. So there we go, that's different. That's different. So you get the point. So yeah, I still expect the tool, you know, to be updated, because there's still a lot to cover, especially in the research aspect for BD2. But other than that, I mean, I still think many will prefer this tool over the Ultimate Battle Editor that I made over a year ago. That one is more so for editing missions in bulk, so having several of them to edit at once, which is what I used for Sparking Hyper, actually. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. It's been like nearly half an hour, and I will upload a separate video demonstrating the results of editing, you know, missions with this tool. It's quite fun, actually. So yeah, until next time.